But let's have a look at another key seat in this campaign. Labor frontbencher Tanya Plibersek actually resurfaced in Western Australia today, 2 days after skipping the party's official campaign launch in Perth. Plibersek was in Anne Aly's seat of Cowan, north of Perth. It's held by Anne Aly for Labor on a wafer-thin 0.9% margin. Aly is facing some concerns of her own, with the Australian reporting she could be ruled ineligible to stand for re-election because of doubts she effectively renounced her dual Australian-Egyptian citizenship. Let's hope all that is tidied up. We invited Anne Aly to join us on the show, of course, but as usual, the Labor candidate, or Labor member in this case, wasn't available. Vince Connelly is running in the seat for the Libs. He was forced to find a new home after his old seat of Stirling was redistributed. He joins me now live from Perth. Thanks for joining us, Vince. Tough to switch to a new seat, but at least you've got some runs on the board as a parliamentarian. Anne Aly, for a marginal seat, has developed a pretty good national profile. She's been fairly prominent for the Labor Party. Do you think that that's going to hold her in good stead?
G'day, Chris. It's awesome to be with you. Look, what I can talk about is what I'm doing here in Cowan. You're right. Sadly, my seat of Stirling is getting abolished from this next election. It doesn't happen very often, but look, the upside is that half of my electorate and the southern half of the old Cowan gets smashed together in the new Cowan. So there are a great many people and community organisations that I've been working really closely with, achieving really great things together, and that's really what I'm aiming to do, is to keep serving my local community, and me and the whole team are dedicated to doing just that.
But Anne Aly has presumably been serving that community. She's also been a pretty prominent national voice on some key issues. How are you going to convince voters that you'll do more than her? What do you have that she doesn't?
Look, it's really obviously a choice which voters will make between predominantly the Liberal and the Labor candidates. Of course, there are other parties in the running. I think it's important to take a national perspective as well. Chris, you mentioned Cowan here, absolutely a key seat, 0.9% margin. 0.9%. So it's one that could go either way, depending on how where the voters put their faith. And look, as a member of the Morrison government, you know, it's important to just reflect and on the strong economy that we've been able to maintain even through COVID, and to look into the future. As an ex-serviceman, as a former army officer, I'm passionate about national security and defence. We know that these are coalition strengths, and that when Labor was last in government, we saw them rip $18 billion out of defence. We saw defence spending at the lowest level since 1938, World War II. So look, it's a question that's actually bigger than either candidate just here in the seat. It's a question of good national economic management and looking after Australia into the future. But what I'll say, what I offer is to continue working my absolute guts out, as I have been for 3 years, and delivering locally.
Well, Vince, to win, you're going to have to go against the expected tide in the West. We'll keep an eye on it. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks so much, Chris.
Vince Connelly there, a Liberal MP, trying to win a seat from Labor at this election in that unusual circumstance. Those outer suburban seats, the heartland of Australia, they're going to be very important to watch in this campaign. Maybe they don't go quite the way that you expect the pollsters when they've got all the Greens and the fake independents in there.